March 9th, 2018, and we are Dublin bound to visit Ireland, the Emerald Island. We arrived on March 10th, and it was time to hit the road. After driving on the narrow roads and not finding a parking spot, we decided it was time to head to the Portmarnock Hotel and Golf Links. And look at the view we had from this room. Absolutely beautiful. We did venture out that night by taxi cab, and then we saw the River Liffey, which separates North Dublin from South Dublin. A fun little area, must see. We then had our first traditional breakfast at the Portmarnock Hotel and Golf Links. We got a late start due to fog and narrow roads, and then headed north to the dark hedges. We found a small city called Ballycastle that was quite interesting, and we decided to stop and hang out a bit. Here are a few of the photos and meals and stuff that we had while we were there. The scenery in Ballycastle was absolutely amazing, and then we met this little guy called Flake, who we became friends with. Pretty cute little boy. Ballycastle is a little port city, and after that we decided to head north. Along the way, we found these castle ruins and decided to stop and try to fly the drone out and get some good photos. The video, it was amazing, and the scenery out here was just absolutely beautiful. Highly recommend stopping at any of the castles or anything along the way that you see. It's kind of hard to find a parking spot sometimes, but it's a lot of places you can pull over and maybe get out and take a peek. These trees were planted in 1775 and have become popular since the television show Game of Thrones. Really pretty area to visit, and we decided to stop and take some pictures. About 10 to 15 minutes north of the dark hedges is the Giant's Causeway. Giant's Causeway is the aftermath of a volcanic fissure eruption that happened about 60 million years ago. In this area, there's over 40,000 basalt columns that are all interlocked. The legend has it that the giant Finn McCool built the causeway to battle a Scottish giant. I so wanted to get the drone out and do some flying over this area, but due to wind conditions, it was not going to happen on this date. We did have a little bit of difficulty with the weather during our trip, but we managed and we made it through. The Giant's Causeway is definitely a place to see. As it started getting later and darkness was falling in, we decided to wrap up here at the Giant's Causeway and head a little bit southwest to the first castle of many that we would stay in, the Lough Eske Castle. The Lough Eske Castle dates back to the 1470s. In 1861, the new Lough Eske Castle was built on this site. There's a date stone of 1621 with the initials of WH and IM that still remains in the castle yard to this day. We felt like royalty at the Lough Eske Castle. We ate and drank like kings and queens. A fantastic time and a beautiful castle. As we woke up at Lough Eske Castle, we had the traditional Irish breakfast. You'll see a little bit more of that later in the video. And we actually were able to get out and get some great photos and fly the drone a little bit. Beautiful castle, as you can see from the aerial shots. I guess my driving was scaring the hell out of Courtney, and she wanted to drive a bit. Actually, I quite enjoyed it because I was able to get some great photos as we had a special blind date planned for both of us. Now, as we headed south to Ashford Castle for our blind dates, we were able to gather a few extra photos of some scenery, and look how the fog just kind of settles up over the homes. Beautiful country. Look at all the green, and we're in mid-March. And now I would like to introduce you to Yoda. And then we also have Wookie. Yoda and Wookie are two Harris hawks. This was just one of many birthday celebrations I had planned for Courtney, as her birthday was March 12th. We had a fantastic time with Yoda and Wookie. The hawks are amazing, and the trainers are phenomenal, and they're very patient. Falconry is very big in Ireland, and I highly recommend the hawk walk at Ashford Castle. The trainers, I can't say enough about how the trainers were. They were amazing and patient. Gave us a little extra time as we walked through. As you can see, this is Yoda coming in slow motion for a little snack. The trainers were the one who filmed this, and they highly recommended the slow motion videos. Now, if you slowly watch, I've got Yoda on my arm, and here comes Wookie to Courtney. Watch as Wookie flies over, and all you see are the smiles on her face. I think she had a pretty good birthday this day. The hawk walk actually lasts about an hour, and we would take both birds out and send them off to hopefully try to catch a pheasant or a small bird or some sort of prey and bring it back. We called them back by holding our arms up, and as you can see, here comes Yoda flying in to get a little piece of chicken. If you'll watch over Courtney's shoulder, you'll see Wookie. Somehow or other we got switched, but that's okay. You'll see Wookie coming in to the left of her head right here. She's holding her arm out, and here he comes. Coming in for the landing. It's like a B-52 coming in, but they land so softly and are so gentle, actually. You can't pet them. You're not able to pet the birds. They'll bite your fingers off, according to the guy. But we had a great time. As you can see here, we're walking out in the woods, and here comes another slow motion shot. Look at this. I don't step in front of her on this one. I stole her bird on the last one. She's got this one, and the bird just comes in, and they land perfect every time. I think we had a good time. For Courtney's birthday, I picked the most luxurious castle there is in all of Ireland, the Ashford Castle. Luxury, luxury, luxury. The castle itself dates back to 1228 and was owned by the Guinness family years ago. That's the famous Guinness family that we drank a whole bunch of their beer while we were here. It's located near the ancient city of Cong, which is within walking distance. There's so much to do at Ashford Castle. The weather was great, and we had everything open to us. We did some archery, we did some skeet shooting, we did zip lining, we did the falconry. We ate here. The food is amazing. And all of the castles and places we stayed at, they all have bars, so you don't have to go out drinking. You can drink right there, and man, did we drink a lot. We had a great time, but this is one of the best places in the world to stay at as far as castles. Look at the view from the drone. It's just a beautiful country, and this area is beautiful. As we turn around, you can see the lake, and this is the front view of the castle. It's just a beautiful castle, and I highly recommend staying here. It'll cost you a little bit more, but it's well worth the price. I hear tell the salmon fishing is phenomenal in the river out in front of the castle during the season. Maybe next time I'm coming during the season. As you can see, the inside of the castle is just as nice as the outside of the castle. Ashford Castle even brought Courtney and I some champagne and a cake for her birthday. We wandered around the castle inside for a bit and saw some of the historic sights and stuff that were inside the castle. One of the neatest things for me was the room we stayed in. We stayed in room 222, and to the left of us was the Ronald Reagan suite, as you can see here. Our room is directly to the right, and then to the right of our room, that's our room, and to the right of this room, you have the John F. Kennedy suite. Both presidents had stayed in these rooms and had suites there. There was no room 223, which is something a little unusual. As we woke up the next morning, we decided to walk around and tour a little bit of the castle. There's a ton of stuff to see here, and if you get here early enough, you can walk with the big Irish wolfhound dogs in the morning that they walk. The scenery inside the castle is amazing. It's all real wood. There's nothing fake about it. Those are real red roses. For the morning of March 13th, we had 4 things on the plan. First thing we were going to do was do some skeet shooting, and after that we went to archery, and then finally we ended up doing some zip lining. After getting our stuff out of the hotel, it was time to hit the ancient city of Cong and see some of the wonders that were there. If I studied my history correctly, the ancient city of Cong dates back to the 11th century. It's mainly all ruins, but there are a few stores. This ancient city lies in the county of Galway. Galway is by far my favorite county in all of Ireland, and we had a blast there. Galway is just a fun college town. As we headed into the city, we hung out with many Americans, and we met a ton of locals at a place called Tig Coley Pub. Enjoy the Tig Coley.
All Irish tea. Now we're all together. I'm going to keep singing this song if you don't mind. In this very strange weather. It's a secret song. It's a song. It's not traditional, but who cares anyway? I'm going to sing it. It's from Elvis, and I hope you like it. I hope you like it today. You come from afar just to be here in Chicole's bar. So now let's sing all of the joy in up to G. Wise men say only fools rush in. Lord, I am falling in love with
for that couple in particular and for everybody else. It's based on a true story. Oh, the autumn winds are blowing across the South Saskatchewan prairie, bringing just a hint of cold and winter still to come. That's when my mind starts turning to a place in Tipperary, to the green, the pleasant county I used to call my home. When you're lost in line for the family farm, the choices aren't that many. To leave behind the life you've known and head out on your own. Yes, but we were young, we didn't care, we saved up every penny. We headed off to Canada and a life to call our own.
Galway is also the home of the famous Clondalkin Ring, which is so popular these days. Now we were at Lough Abbey, a famous little abbey in the city of Galway. I think I just found where the leprechauns stay while they're here. While at Lough Abbey and Greggan's Castle, this is where we decided we would see the cliffs of Moher. What a beautiful area this was, and here are a few pictures of the area around the cliffs before we went into the actual cliffs. There really are no words for the cliffs of Moher. Greggan's Castle is more of a bed and breakfast than a castle per se, but it is on the same land of the old Greggan's Castle. March 15th, it was time to do some horseback riding. We were in County Clare, and we decided to hit the Mountain View Trekking. Peter and the girls at the Mountain View Trekking took great care of us. I got to ride this wonderful horse called Guinness. I think I picked him because of his name. The weather on this date was completely miserable. It was about 34 degrees and it was pouring down rain. But our guides didn't let us down. They stuck with us the whole time. If you plan on doing any horseback riding, I highly recommend Mountain View Trekking. The horses were really well trained and easy to ride. Now it was time to get dried off and put on some dry clothes and head to the Lake Hotel. We arrived at the Lake Hotel after dark, but we woke up to this. The weather wasn't too bad today, so I was able to break the drone out and do some fun flying and got this great video footage. All of the drone footage was done with the DJI Spark in 1080p. All of the photographs, the editing, the sound, and anything else done was done on the Galaxy S7 Edge. I had to limit myself to a simple rule of no more than 25% photographs and video. That way I would be able to actually enjoy the scenery and everything that we saw in this wonderful country of Ireland. Have an unexpected visitor fly through. I did a lot of research before we traveled to Ireland, and I figured March would be an okay month to go, a little bit cheaper and less expensive. Unfortunately, the weather was pretty bad most of the time, but on the good days, we got out and we did stuff. But all in all, it was a great trip. I think I need to plan another trip to visit some of the areas that we did not get to see. There's so much of this great country to see. Now we were headed to the Waterford Castle, but we were going to make a quick stop by the Jameson factory. Due to some time constraints, we decided to stop at the Jameson factory in Middleton, in the county of Cork. The original Jameson factory is in Dublin, Ireland. We raised our hands and we were selected to do some of the taste testing. We ended up purchasing 2 bottles, one of which we actually got to pour ourselves from this cask. We also purchased a bottle of Jameson that was bottled on March 17th of 2006. Jameson was a lot of fun, and I would have loved to have gone to the one in Dublin. While I was in Waterford, I decided to get an old tattoo covered up. Nothing but my pups. Our next stop was Waterford Castle, which is actually on an island, and you have to catch a ferry with your car and ride over. As far as service goes, I would say this is probably the worst place we stayed at. It wasn't bad, but it wasn't anything to brag about. The castle itself was very nice, and the food was very good, but the service was just not that great. I am hoping they just were having a bad day or an off day, but I wouldn't let my recommendation or lack of recommendation stop you from checking out this castle. It's a beautiful castle. And now it's St. Patrick's Day in Dublin, Ireland, 2018. First things first, it was cold as hell. That didn't stop us from going out and watching the parade, but we were soon inside in a nice warm pub. The pub we visited was called the Foggy Dew, and it was amazing. It just so happened today was the National Rugby Championship, where Ireland was going for the Grand Slam, and they won it all. That was really fun to watch Ireland, in Ireland, playing for a national championship. They go nuts over rugby. Well, I told you it was cold. We woke up to this on April 18th. On my to-do list was the Guinness Brewery. I loved this place. This was fantastic. You can do the self-walkthrough like we did. and enjoy everything, go at your own pace. You can stop on the 4th floor and have a cold Guinness. Who knew there were 30 million bubbles in every pint? We really enjoyed this, and once you get to the top floor, you can have your free Guinness. We actually ended up having a nice lunch there and finished up the tour. And as we were leaving, we were told that we had won 2 little gifts, and I'll be doggone if we didn't win a couple of Guinness glasses and some magnets. The glasses were really cool. One thing that Courtney definitely had on her list of places to visit was the Harley-Davidson shop. The main one was closed, but we managed to make it by this one, and she was able to get her shop on. The next big stop was going to be the Phoenix Deer Park. It's about 10 minutes away from Dublin, and if you have somebody who loves animals, I highly recommend picking up some apples or some carrots or something for the deer, and you can actually go in the park and feed the deer. As you can see here, there's still a bunch of snow on the ground, but the deer came out to see us because we had the food. There was one buck that kept coming up, and he was here constantly with us. As I looked over at him later, his tag number was 007, so we nicknamed him 007. As you can see, he's mad because Courtney's eating his apples. 007 snuck a kiss when he could. As another deer walks up, Courtney turns to feed that deer, and watch what 007 does. He's like, oh, if you're gonna feed him over there, I'm gonna come around over here, chase this guy away, and have a bite over here. Next on the list was the Brazen Head Pub, the oldest pub in Ireland, established in 1198. Check out the music.
Everybody back there say hi.
I thought I was going to go photo op. But it's a video. No one carried me
The food and the drink in Ireland are fantastic. I had unknown numbers of Guinness, and she had Irish whiskeys. We drank and ate so good. Here's a quick rundown of all the food and the drinks that we had. Thank you for watching this. I hope you enjoyed it. The video was done primarily for me to have a keepsake, so to say, and also to share with friends and family. I've got a lot of friends who are talking about going to Ireland, and I hope this helps them, maybe gives them a little guidance. As far as my favorites, I would say Ashford Castle and Lough Eske Castle were my favorite. My favorite city was Galway by far. It's just a really fun college town. There's a whole bunch that I would still like to do and see. We didn't get to see Liege, I hope I'm saying that right. We also didn't get to make it to the Dingle Peninsula, which is a nice little area on the southwest corner. There is also a bike ride along the Wild Atlantic Way. It's called the Greenway. I think that would have been a lot of fun to do, a lot of good picture opportunities. Probably would have taken about 2 hours. We are headed home. Thank you very much for watching. Hope you enjoy Ireland if you can make the trip.